the purple wheel on the wheel. Right, this is a front wheel off of an RF600, because this, if you can see, the standard RGV wheel is 3-inch diameter. This RF600 wheel is 3.5. Now this, rather than using a 110 front 150 rear with the RGV, which limits the sort of tyres you can use, going to a 3.5-inch front rim lets you do a 120 160 combo. Going, because you've got the 120 on the front, it opens up all the modern tyres. So this is all stuff I found out off of the RGV 250 forum. I thought, as I'm going to do wheel bearings and repaint the front wheel, and it needs new tyres, I might as well just do the front wheel at the same time. This was an eBay special for 29 quid, I think it was. Bearings might be alright in it, but I'll just change them anyway. But as you can see, sitting there against the RGV wheel, it's actually exactly the same hub, spokes, everything. It's just got a 1/2 inch wider rim fitted to it. No fancy stuff getting these wheel bearings out. 2 bits of wood to support the wheel, a couple of rods and a screwdriver. What I've done, the easiest way I found was to put the rod in at an angle like that, just give it a few gentle taps, and it seems to release the spacer between the bearings. If you look, you may just be able to see down there, it's not perfectly in line with the bearing anymore, which means you can get something on there, give it a good tap, go moving around at different angles, and it'll knock that bearing out, then the spacer falls out, and you can turn it over and do the other side. Now the weights and the valve. Ready for a rub down and a paint. Right, I've washed it. It's been rubbed down with 240 wet and dry. It's been washed again, rubbed down with 800 wet and dry. What I'm going to do before I go in, because I'm running out of time, is to degrease it and just put some Etch Primer on the bits where I've rubbed down through to the aluminium. There was a stone chip there that I've just rubbed out. A couple of other bits where there's a few little marks, hardly anything really. There's one round here. That's where the wheel weights were. This side, a few little stone chips on the edges of the rim there, but on the whole, hardly anything wrong with it. So before I paint anything now, I always use panel wipe on it. This, if you've got a local paint place that does automotive paints, it's cheap for a big tin like that, it lasts forever. Just a bit on the cloth and wipe it over first. Right, it's been wiped down with degreaser. Quick bit of Etch Primer onto the bits where the aluminium is showing, and also around the lettering, because where I've rubbed it down it had all gone through. So all I need to do now is, next time I'm out here, a quick flat down With 1200 I think I'll do over the primed areas, or the whole wheel probably. Then I'll mask up the centres to stop the paint getting in where the bearings and the discs go on. And because it's purple, I'm going to go for white primer first. Otherwise it'll take a hell of a lot of white to cover it properly. Okay, I've painted around the edges of where the wheel bearings go, because they're like stained, dirty looking aluminium. Even if you rub them down, they still look crap. Taped it by doing lots of these all the way around, painted it silver. Now, the easiest way I find to get this off, and I learned it years ago when I was an apprentice, for doing gaskets, is to tap it gently with a hammer. The sharp edge cuts through the paper, or if we were doing gaskets, it'd be like a cornflake box. There you go. Excellent, hell of a lot easier than trying to go around with a blade, get it nice and neat. This is the front wheel finished. It's had 2 coats of primer, 3 coats of white and 2 coats of clear. And it's come out pretty good. It's a bit too cold out here still. But lots of use of the hairdryer to keep it dry between coats. Let's get a bit closer to this front wheel. It's looking like there are a couple of marks on it, but overall I'm pretty happy with it. Looks okay. What I'll have to do next, once it's dried, I've already done the back wheel. Once this one's had a good 48 hours I reckon to dry fully hard, I'll flatten both off with 2000 wet and dry, and it'll get rid of any rough parts and make it super smooth. Right, wheel bearings are going back in. Right hand side first, the manual says. Already cleaned this up with some wet and dry. Put some copper grease in there. Put a little bit on here as well, just for the hell of it. I've got the old bearing I took out. I'm going to use that as a drift, to at least get the bearing started. No fancy pullers here, I'm afraid. Going in nicely straight. Right, it's got just to the point where the bearing's starting to get stuck. The old bearings are getting stuck. So switch to the punch, just on the edges. You can hear the noise change when the bearing bottoms out. Just to double check. Gets that ringing noise when it's down. So that's one side done. Got to remember to put the spacer in. But of course the one I took out from the RGV was getting a bit rusty. This is the one out of the RF wheel. So if there's a chance it's going to go rusty again. There's some grease on it. That should stop it going rusty. Same again. There we go. Now this one, the book, the manual says, isn't bottomed out, it says clearance. It doesn't say what, not what I can see. See, I'm not sure about the clearance bit means, or why. I guess it's so it doesn't pinch the inner spacer. Now we're at that point again, with the bearing sticking. Switch to the punch. Sounds like it's down. The spacer is feels tight in there. Wow. Just pull this bit of masking off and see what she's like. Nice. Looks okay to me. Bit of brake cleaner on there. Get rid of the sticky bits. This is what we've got. New discs. The old discs were loose on the rivets. They weren't worth repairing. This filter is cast and rolled in Germany to EPC spec. They fit either way round. Hey. Nice. Brake cleaner. Fantastic. Right, the bolts have just been cleaned up with a wire brush. Be nice to change them for titanium or something, but they're way too expensive. And I've got some thread lock. I've got two types. I've got strong and low. This is low because I've used a strong one in the past, and you're never going to get these out again if you use it. And if they do corrode up and go all manky, I might have to replace them. They're a bit crappy on the tops already. Book says 15 to 25 Newton meters, so I'm at 21 on here. Fantastic, lovely, expensive disc. Supposedly lightweight, good for unsprung weight and all that. Standard disc. $1794. $1794. Pro Light disc. 1530. 1530. 264 grams less per disc. There's a speedo drive. giving it a quick go over with black again because it's looking a bit tatty. The actual drive comes out, which is quite handy. It fits in there with a little circlip. It's full of like grit and crap over the last 20 years stuck in there, so it's a good chance to give it a good clean out and a re-grease. Right, there's the speedo drive. It's been painted black because it was a bit tatty. You can see where it engages in there. Glue to grease. The amount of crap that come out of this, it must obviously takes a hell of a lot of mess off of the road, so lots of grease to protect it. Bit more for luck. This little circlip is what holds it all together. See the end turning in there. Job's a good one. Right, there is the finished wheel with the disc on, speedo drives on, and my new tyres.